hay hombre en movimiento. La entrega. ¡Ahí está Dak Prescott! ¡Juega de engaño entrando a las diagonales! El número 4 dice: ¡aquí estamos y no nos vamos! ¡Wow! Vaya jugada, vaya engaño. Y qué manera de abrirse el mar rojo para Dak Prescott. 6 puntos para la causa de los Vaqueros.
Fantasy Football Happy Hour with Matthew Berry, served by Applebee's.
Welcome to the Fantasy Football Happy Hour. That was the Cowboys' Spanish announce team in the SoFi press box around all the writers. Really good match there.
Hola.
Yeah.
Me llamo Mateo. How much Spanish do you know?
A little bit. I was backpacked around South America for 6 months.
I got a very, very, very generous C- in high school Spanish.
You passed.
From Senora Worley.
You are fluent.
Back in high school days, many, many years ago. I really it was one of those things where, and I didn't mean to tell this story, but whatever, now that I'm going there.
We're here.
Well, it was one of those things, so I grew up in Texas, right? And so there's a lot of bilingual kids in the particular town so I took Spanish, and Senora Worley goes, I remember I had to pick a language in my high school, and so I picked Spanish. And so I walk in the first day, and it's me and my buddy Steve Bradley. I remember that. And Steve Bradley and I think, were the only non-Hispanic kids in the class. And we sit down, and Senora Worley goes, "Hi, welcome to Spanish 105 or whatever it is. I am your teacher, Senora Worley, and this is the last sentence that will be in English for the entire semester." And then proceeded to teach the entire.
That's the way to do it. Immersion.
So yeah, me and Esteban were just I somehow I got a C-, and I don't think I came close to earning it. I think she felt bad for me, as most people do when they meet me and they understand.
You didn't have a head start on the
that
language.
That makes sense. Once I oversold my Spanish-speaking ability to someone, and then next thing you know, they're telling me that there's an opportunity to do something with La Liga, where it's me and Luis Garcia previewing games in Spanish. I'm like, I'm not going to understand what he's saying. We got to do that in English.
Yeah, I don't know how that one would have went.
Yeah,
tough content.
That's one where. Anyway, but that all leads it to the Spanish announcers from the Dallas Cowboys. With that mine went viral last night, which is amazing. They were calling the game, so exciting. Big win for the Cowboys. We're going to get to that later, Connor.
Yeah.
We've got waivers as well, but just so you know, obviously, all the Monday Night Football beat writers that were there in the box, because basically SoFi Stadium, for all the billions that they've spent on it, didn't have a broadcast booth for these poor guys. So they had to do it from just the normal beat writers section that is normally
setup.
Quiet. So anyway, the Monday Night Football beat writers, they drink for free.
Yes.
They had to sit there on deadline while these guys were going crazy. And awesome, by the way. I don't know what it is, but everything announced in Spanish just sounds better.
Yes.
More energy.
It's just more energy. It's just
energy.
more fun. It's just you should learn Spanish.
I should. I could do some of the show in Spanish.
I'm just saying.
That's interesting.
You scream goal every time you mention Tamari DeRicardo on waivers.
Right,
There's
exactly.
something. Maybe season 3 of Fantasy Football
it's
Happy
something
Hour
to
will
work
be
on.
bilingual.
Just something to work
You don't even
on.
need to hit the SAP button.
Yeah.
You just get it when you turn it on. Pretty good.
Connor.
I don't know what it is, but the
job keeps
TV
getting more difficult.
the TV in our bedroom, and my wife and I almost never watch TV in our bedroom. We watch sort of in the living room, but for whatever reason, sometimes when I'm working late, my wife will like to watch TV in our bedroom, and she keeps telling me, I haven't looked at this, but the TV in our bedroom is Spanish. I'm just like, what's the SAP button? Just turn off the SAP button. She's like, I don't know how. So my wife has literally watched the last season and a half of Suits in Spanish.
That's ridiculous.
Because
With
she
subtitles,
can't,
just
I guess she's too lazy to get out of bed and fix it. She don't know how to fix it.
Wow.
And just,
Harvey Spencer Espanol. Unbelievable.
just anyway.
wow. That's commitment.
Just a little welcome into my world. Hola.
So we will do.
And adios.
Yeah, exactly, Jay. Well done. Yeah. We will do our Monday Night Football recap eventually, as well as our Back to the Futures bets. But let's jump into Waiver Wire, because that is the most important thing, really, at the middle of the week point here. And we'll start with the wide receivers. And listen,
I wish we were doing the show during Cinco de Mayo here at the Happy Hour. I just feel like we should blow that out.
It's not impossible.
Yeah.
Right after the draft?
Yeah, producer Pete, make a note of that. Big Cinco de Mayo
Lock
celebration here at the Happy Hour. Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Lock it in.
Yeah.
Be here with us for Cinco de Mayo special on Peacock.
Yeah.
The notable wide receivers on the bye in Week 7. There's going to be a theme of the show. It's Bye-Mageddon. The theme of this show is going to be, how the hell do you field a roster this week? Well, we're here to help you Obviously loaded at wide receiver. The Panthers aren't a bye. Adam Thielen with the Bengals, Chase Higgins and Boyd, Dallas, CeeDee Lamb, Houston, Nico Collins, Tank Dell. With the Jets, Garrett Wilson, and with the Titans, DeAndre Hopkins. So Barry, just a laundry list of names at the wide receiver position that are not playing this week.
Yeah, 100%. And by the way, that's, we think Debo might play, but he may not. Like, there's a couple of guys that are also sort of banged up. We're expecting Deontay Johnson back this week, but we don't know for sure. Christian Watson's been out of the lineup. He comes back this week. We saw him last week, but you never know. Like, this is a tough week for a lot of positions, but wide receiver especially as well. So we've got some names for you. Some hot little names here.
Let's jump into the hot little names with the first one being Chiefs wide receiver Rashee Rice.
Pequeños nombres.
Exactly. There you go.
Boy.
Look at you. You're further down the road than I am.
It's going to be a long day.
Yes.
Jay, the first name we have here, Rashee Rice. Somehow we yell to pick up Rashee Rice every week, and he's still available in over half of leagues, 55%. The Chiefs have the Chargers, Broncos, Miami, and Germany. And then the bye week. So Rashee Rice, good call by you last week. You liked his receiving prop. He doubles it, essentially. He's starting to get touches in this offense. Not a ton, but enough to matter.
Yeah, I like to celebrate my own victories. I think that one got a little bit lucky, though, because he only had 4 targets in that game, even though he went 4 for 72. So that was a little bit of a concern. I don't understand this offense and why they don't utilize him more. Every time he's out there, he looks like a monster. He's the 15th best wide receiver by PFF grade. He just looks the part, but it just hasn't happened yet. I would expect that will scale up. And certainly if there is one wide receiver on the Chiefs that you want, it's Rashee Rice, and I don't think it's particularly close, Matthew.
I would agree with you. He's tied for the team lead in red zone targets this year, as we've talked about here. They've had the mini bye. They're coming off the Thursday night game as well with Taylor Swift in attendance. What I understand, I hear from sources that she also she has Rashee Rice on her fantasy team. So I'm hoping that that message somehow gets from her to Brittany to Patrick Mahomes. The fact of the matter is to your point, double-digit fantasy points in 3 of the past 4 games. We've said this for a while. We've been saying this for a while. Rashee Rice is coming. This is going to happen. He is going to be a thing this season. He's been usable the last couple of weeks as well, and now he gets a Chargers team that's traveling on a short week, or not traveling. The game's in Los Angeles, I believe, right?
No, it's
in Kansas City. Okay, they are. That's right. All right. So yeah, they're traveling on a short week. And this is a team that obviously just got lit up by CeeDee Lamb, should have been lit up by Michael Gallup. We're getting there, right? But they allow the second most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. So, yeah, Rashee Rice, to me, shouldn't be 55% available. We've been talking him up for weeks.
Yeah, and Mahomes seems to just always eviscerate the Chargers.
Yes.
He makes a habit of that. And as you noted, they didn't put up a great defensive showing last night. Dak could have had even more, and we'll get to that game, but missed Pollard on the touchdown at the end. And Rashee Rice, he is so correlated as well with Patrick Mahomes' success.
Right.
Because I've got a lot of people who have bet on Patrick Mahomes MVP at my urging, who are a bit worried that Mahomes' numbers don't look great. Like, his weapons are as good as last year, maybe even better because of Rashee Rice.
Exactly.
Like, he's lost Juju Smith-Schuster. Rice is better than Juju. The fact that as well, Kadarius Toney should provide more upside, but I think Rashee Rice will get better, and I think Mahomes will get better with him, and I think that starts this week.
He just needs the opportunity. Rashee Rice coming out of college in last year's draft, his 2 best traits were playing above the rim, great fit with Patrick Mahomes, and working off script when the play breaks down, coming back to the quarterback. He needs to be on the field as much as possible for those things to happen. So I'm with you. The big-time breakout is coming for Rashee Rice. Another rookie that we're waiting on to really, and he had a good week 6, but he hasn't had that great week yet, is Jaxon Smith-Njigba, the first-round pick for the Seahawks. Barry, he's available in over 50% of leagues here, so he's still out there. He has Arizona this week, so he could really help you out on a bye week if he's available.
What was encouraging to me the most part is, again, it hasn't shown up in the box score yet, but there's 2 things we know, right? Again, very simple. Fantasy success comes from talent and opportunity. It's one of the reasons why we like Rashee Rice. We know he's got talent, and he's been getting more and more opportunity. Same with Jaxon Smith-Njigba, who I believe, Connor, you had as your number 1 rated wide receiver coming out of college this year. So we all like JSN talent-wise. Is he going to get the opportunity? Previously in the season, he really wasn't. He was playing significantly fewer snaps, running fewer routes than DK Metcalf or Tyler Lockett. This past week, not so much. You see it there on your screen. 72% snap percentage. He got the 4 for 48, 5 targets. All of those were season highs. So he's had 5 or more targets in 4 out of 5 games this year, but he ran more routes. He was on the field more. he was almost equal with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. It feels like it's now to the point where we all hoped it would be, which is sort of like they're all out there equally. And then ultimately, if they're all out there equally, we think JSN's talent will win out. I'm not saying he's better than Metcalf or Lockett. He's not at this stage of his career. But he's going to earn more than he certainly has. A breakout could certainly come, especially this week against a Cardinals defense that allows the 7th most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers.
Yeah, I think as well, Connor, there's the perception that, Pete Carroll likes to run the ball. Think back to those Russell Wilson days where it was just so often run, pass, run, pass. This is not that same offense at all. They're 7th in the league in passing rate over expected based on the situation and whether teams would normally run or pass. So this is a team that throws the ball. And the fact also they don't really get much out of their tight ends. I think there should be room for JSN to be that third guy in the passing offense.
There absolutely should be. And they have an offensive line that's trying to figure it out as well. And if they get healthy with that group, the pass game will get better. The Bengals front 8 alive, that Seattle offensive line. And if they can figure that part out, it'll only help a guy like JSN. Our next one here, Giants wide receiver Wan'Dale Robinson. He's got your Commanders this week, Barry. 82% available across all leagues. And here's the thing with Wan'Dale Robinson. He's been a feature of this offense that's trying to figure it out the last couple weeks.
I feel like all these guys. I feel like especially Rashee Rice, especially Wan'Dale Robinson. We've mentioned JSN before as well, but like some of these guys we keep talking about, just like Tajay Spears, like some of these other guys, like we talked about Puka Nacua in the preseason. Like again, I don't understand why, or Tank Dell in the preseason. These guys are going to become things. Like if you look at all the underlying data, right? So, by the way, he was my Barry's bet on Football Night in America, and that cashed. Again, just a heads up. Bet the Barry's bet. Parlay's always dicey, but always tougher to hit.
Straight bet.
But straight
cash
bet.
it in.
Straight bet's been cash money this year. The fact of the matter is that he had a 26% target share last week. With the 8 targets as well. 3 straight games now with 5 or more receptions. The fact of the matter is about Wan'Dale Robinson is, again, and I feel like I've said this multiple shows in multiple weeks, but it bears repeating because he's still out there in way too many leagues. Brian Daboll used a 2nd-round pick on him and Joe Shane. Like, he's the only guy on this roster in that passing game, with the exception of Darren Waller, who they traded for, that the current coaching staff is invested in the way that, like, that's my guy. Not anyone else that they inherited Darius Slayton. They inherited inherited Isaiah Hodgins. They did draft Jalen Hyatt.
Right.
So but Wan'Dale Robinson, somebody they used a 2nd-round pick on, and just think about Brian Daboll's offense, who always targets the slot. That's a big part, especially the crossing routes. It's one of the things that Daniel Jones does well. We hope to get Daniel Jones back this week as well. So Wan'Dale, this is going to be a thing. Like it already started to be a thing against, again, he had Tyrod Taylor who's playing the Bills defense, and he still, had a pretty nice game there that's really usable in PPR. I think it's only going to continue. Wan'Dale Robinson is going to be, I believe, what the Giants wanted Kadarius Toney to be, which is like this slot guy with some big play ability, and maybe they'll try to use some gadget stuff. I don't think he's as gadgety as Kadarius Toney. I mean, you can talk about this better than I can, but
Kentucky used him that way.
But Kentucky used him
100%.
like that way, right? I mean, I don't know. I have Wan'Dale Robinson on every dynasty team I have. What can I tell you? I'm all in. Ole.
I think the upside for Wan'Dale comes from the fact that Isaiah Hodgins played 18 snaps against the Bills. Sterling Shepard played 1 snap. Those guys are not part of the offense. Thought about this being a really, not loaded in terms of talent, but loaded in terms of just people in the wide receiver room for the Giants. Those guys are getting phased out. And the fact as well that he played less snaps than Jalen Hyatt and Darius Slayton, I think that'll start trending towards Wan'Dale. He's got upside. He can play more, and he's getting targeted when he's out there.
Again, earning targets is a skill, and the fact that he was able to earn 8 targets playing, to your point, less snaps than the other guys just tells you something.
Another player in a similar mold, Jay, is Josh Downs, who he's only available now in 67% of leagues. That number is going to go down because what we've been saying for a couple of weeks now is when Downs, the rookie slot receiver, plays with Gardner Minshew, Minshew leans on him.
He does. And the fact that it's going to be the Minshew show the rest of the season, it looks like, I think that bodes well for Downs. They're just going to pass the ball more. I mean, Minshew threw the ball over 50 times against the Jags. They couldn't get anything going in the run game either. So I think that they will be throwing. Now, this is a tough matchup against Cleveland. This is the best defense in the NFL at the moment. So not a great situation for Downs with Cleveland and then the Saints after that. It's another tough defense. But then you get at Panthers, then you get New England in Frankfurt. I think Josh Downs will be viable going forward, Matthew.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we can get more into this when we get into the waivers, but the fact of the matter is that Jim Irsay said most likely Anthony Richardson is done for the year. If nothing else, whether Richardson comes back or not, it's going to be Gardner Minshew for quite some time. And to your point, he has a connection with Josh Downs. 21% target share for Josh Downs so far with Minshew under center this season. At least 13 fantasy points in 3 of the 4 games. Like, not somebody we love in standard or even half-point PPR, but in PPR, very viable, 87% available.
How about Curtis?
Plays the Browns this week, which you don't
That's a
love,
tough
but Josh Downs is going to be a thing this year in PPR.
Yeah,
12-team
long-term
or
payoff
deeper PPR leagues.
for sure. How about Curtis Samuel on your Commanders here, Barry? I mean, available in 66% of leagues. He's got the Giants this week. Sam Howell is getting plenty of dropbacks, so there's a lot of opportunity to throw in this offense. And with Samuel, he's been consistently involved, like so many pass catchers in this Washington offense have been under Eric Bieniemy, where they're spreading the ball around.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, it's weird. He's become a weird floor player. He's had at least 50 receiving yards in 4 out of 6 games this season, 4 straight games with at least 1 red zone target. So, like, there's clearly usage there. He's had 17 fantasy points per game over the past 3 weeks, at least 14 points in all 3 games. It's been kind of like, propped up by touchdowns. And I got to believe at some point, Jahan Dotson gets going. He's just too good. But you see it there on your screen. Curtis Samuel, it's kind of like a 3-headed monster there for Washington. And given how much they throw, because of how bad the secondary is, and let's be honest, Sam Howell's been good. Sam Howell's been better than expected by most, except for me, who always believed. Curtis Samuel is a viable guy, 66% available. Decent match. By the way, here's their sketch. They got the Giants this week and then home to Philadelphia. The slot is where you attack the Eagles.
You can throw against them.
100%. Yeah. And then at New England, which, is not in theory a great matchup, but, New England hasn't been New England, right? Exactly. I mean, exactly. And then at Seattle, Seahawks secondary doesn't scare you at all. So decent matchup coming up for my Commanders.
Yeah, the thing with Samuel is that I mentioned how the Seahawks are 7th in pass rate over expected. The Commanders are 2nd. The only team that passes more than them over expected is Kansas City, who have Patrick Mahomes. I think a lot of that is skewed by the fact that they passed about 50 times in a row against the Bears in that Thursday night game, just never ran the ball at all. But this is a passing offense, and Sam Howell, for all of his sins, he took another 5 sacks on the weekend. It's just completely insane that is happening. But
Dios mio!
Yeah.
When I watch the games, that's what I say. When I watch Sam Howell take
sacked.
another sack.
I can vouch for that.
Yeah.
The thing with that is, at least from a fantasy perspective, it means he's hanging in the play and he's throwing the ball a ton. And so he's not throwing the ball away because he refuses to throw the ball away. It's either completion or sack.
Right.
So it helps guys like Curtis Samuel in an offense that is providing a lot of stats.
A couple of quick mentions here. Obviously, these are some deep targets. Lions wide receiver Josh Reynolds against the Ravens. He's available in 52% of leagues. Reynolds has had plenty of big weeks this year. Patriots wide receiver Kendrick Bourne against the Bills. Saints wide receiver Rashid Shaheed against Jacksonville. 68% still surprised me with Shaheed. He's had 2 or 3 pretty big weeks this year.
Yeah, he's just not getting it. The question with Shaheed is just, can the passing – they're dumping it up to Kamara quite a bit. Michael Thomas is still healthy. Olave's the guy. Derek Carr has been inconsistent this year. Shaheed is just one of those guys that because he plays special teams, he doesn't play a full complement of snaps.
Yep.
But, when he's out there, the kid makes plays.
Yep.
Just really like the kid. It's worth noting, Kendrick Bourne, this is, again, he quietly had a very nice game. We didn't really get to much in that Patriots-Raiders game, but Kendrick Bourne had a 35% target share this week. He actually leads the Patriots in targets, in receptions, in receiving yards. He had a couple good games at the start of the season. I know it's been brutal for the Patriots, and Mac Jones is under fire. But again, this week in Buymageddon, you may not be picky. Kendrick Bourne at least has big playability, and they're trying to get him the ball.
Yeah, Josh Reynolds is an interesting one to me, just with the banged-up running back situation for the Lions, going up against Baltimore, who have a top 5 rushing defense. This quietly, we talked about how last night was a referendum on Dak Prescott. Not as much pressure because they're 5-1. This is a massive game for Jared Goff because he doesn't play outdoors much after this. He's only got 1 game exposed to the elements after this one against Baltimore. It's going to be on his shoulders. And look, Jared Goff's been talked about as an MVP candidate. This game is all about him. And I think Josh Reynolds is playing so well that he's going to be viable.
If he has, we're going to do futures later in the show, but it's right. It'd be interesting to see what the MVP odds are if Jared Goff goes into Baltimore and outplays Lamar Jackson, right? And they win, right? They go on the road and they win that because I think everyone likes the Lions, but they're just now starting to be talked about like, oh, could it be the Lions instead of the Eagles out of the NFC? Which I don't know why that's not a thing, but obviously given the Eagles haven't looked like the Eagles in all capital letters so far, and the Lions have been crushing.
Yeah, and the Lions as well. I mean, after at Baltimore, then the schedule's really easy after that. It's then Vegas, at Chargers, home Bears, home Packers, at Bears. Like, it's insanely easy.
A joke.
Yeah. If they
we
go
talked about this when we were talking
15-2.
up Amon-Ra St. Brown and Montgomery in the preseason, even Jahmyr Gibbs or Laporta to an extent, which is like 7 of their final 8 games are in a dome where Goff plays well. And so
I'm just saying, don't be shocked if Jared Goff is like plus 500 for MVP in a couple of weeks. I don't think he's ultimately going to win because he's Jared Goff, and people just have a barrier with Jared Goff winning MVP over Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, the same way they do with Purdy. Except it's even worse for Goff because Purdy at least is more unknown. But sometimes if they're the one seed,
I think it's a better chance that Dan Campbell wins Coach of the Year than because people love him and he's done a great job there and he's charismatic and But
he's very big.
Yes, but I could see Jared Goff winning like an ESPY or something.
Oh, okay. Yeah. What are the Nickelodeon ones called?
Yeah, whatever. Slime Time or whatever. I could see him winning one of those.
He does look suspiciously like Ryan Gosling as well,
Yes.
so he could be in line for even an Oscar by accident.
For Barbie?
Yeah, for Barbie.
Yeah.
Oh, and here's Jared Goff, except best supporting actor.
Gosling couldn't make it.
Yeah.
All right, to recap, Barry's Week 7 top wide receiver waiver targets Rashee Rice at number 1. If he's out there in your leagues, just go get him. We've been asking you to do that every week. Number 2, Jaxon Smith-Njigba for the Seahawks. 3, Wan'Dale Robinson getting heavily involved in the Giants offense at number 3. And 4, Josh Downs. He's been really good with Gardner Minshew this year. 5, Curtis Samuel, who has been involved with Sam Howell in the Commanders' passing attack. All right, let's move over to running backs. And, of course, we'll start this showing you the notable buys for Week 7.
Yeah. Did you say move over to running backs? Or do you mean vamos?
Ah, yes. Well done.
Terrible.
Yeah, this is
I know
never
10
going
Spanish
away.
words. It never is.
You hit 8 of them.
I got to tell you.
Do you know terrible? Because that's what that was.
I figured that one out. I was able to deduce that.
There we go.
But by the way, Connor, it absolutely will go away. You know why? Because I'm going around our words I know.
Yeah, but
It's very limited vocabulary.
that's
over
fair.
here.
That's okay. So we're about.
I might have to start just delving into words from other languages that I know.
What could go wrong?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's gone so well when you tried French.
Yeah,
months
exactly.
ago.
Exactly.
No way, Monfrey. All right, so listen.
No way, Monfrey.
The notable running backs on bye weeks this week, it is brutal. Miles Sanders and Chuba Hubbard. Chuba Hubbard's looked really good lately. Joe Mixon, Tony Pollard, Dameon Pierce, Breece Hall, and the Titans duo of Derrick Henry and Tajay Spears. There's a good chance you're going to need some help in your backfield this week.
The other one, who is not on this list, but Cristiano McCaffrey, as he's known
Yes.
in Buenos Aires. He also, I suspect that's trending towards a game time decision. That would be my best guess, but there's no clarity on that situation at the moment.
But right, you may not have Christian McCaffrey. You're not going to have David Montgomery, which we're going to get to here. You're likely not going to have Kyren Williams. Again, we're going to get there. But the fact is you already don't have James Conner. So there's a chance that even though you may not have players on bye, you may not have a running back this week. You may really need a running back because some of these guys may be rostered already in your league. But we are here to help.
And with that, we will start with 49ers running back Elijah Mitchell.
I was trying to think of. I was literally trying to think of help in
I
another
gave
language.
you like the
and I couldn't think of it.
Yeah.
Ayuda,
Ayuda?
Yeah, it's
Okay,
Spanish.
sorry. There you go. Yes, we're here to Ayuda.
Elijah Mitchell and Jordan Mason. Mitchell available in 72% of leagues. Jordan Mason available in 94% of leagues. The Niners have Minnesota. As Barry hinted at, Christian McCaffrey dealing with the oblique injury, underwent MRI yesterday. We will keep you updated on this show throughout the week. Jay, the upcoming schedule for the Niners, Minnesota, the Bengals, the bye week, and Jacksonville. And we saw Mason get enough work in Week 6, but there's just not a lot of clarity on how this will shake out.
No, and also Elijah Mitchell's coming off his own injury too. And look, the way that Shanahan spoke about McCaffrey yesterday doesn't seem like it's going to be long-term. He said he was hopeful that he would play. So I would deduce that the worst-case scenario is that he's out through the bye, and that's the worst-case scenario. I think there's a decent chance he plays on Monday. Between Mitchell and Mason, And I don't know if this is controversial, but I would rather have Mason. I think he's just better and he's healthier at the moment. And certainly he looked better against the Browns when he came in. He was the only guy on the offense outside of Ayuk who really gave them some burst. So I think that that Mason might be the guy against Minnesota if McCaffrey's out.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see, right? I mean, I agree with you. Mason's been the better guy this year as Mitchell's been in and out. But if you see some of the quotes from Kyle Shanahan, by the way, and I have Mason on a couple of dynasty teams, so I'm kind of rooting for Mason. Having said that, the fact of the matter is that Elijah Mitchell has been the guy previously. He's really good. The truth is that we have no idea. So I just want to caveat this crazily here for a second, which is this, right? I mean, the fact of the matter is that it's a Monday night game. And so we're not going to know until late in the week, and we may not know by the time people have to make decisions on Sunday morning as to whether or not Christian McCaffrey will go. They tend to be pretty quiet, especially McCaffrey, in terms of when it comes to injury. And then it's Kyle Shanahan. And so, just remember, Elijah Mitchell burst on the scene when everyone was like, oh, it's Trey Sermon, obviously, because they used a third-round pick on Trey Sermon. And really, come on, they're not going to put this sixth-round kid, Elijah Mitchell, out there. And that's exactly what they did against the Lions. And they never looked back. And now Trey Sermon is no longer on the Niners. He's bounced around a little bit. But what I want to say here is that, just so you guys know, when you're heading into your waivers tonight, this is one of those that really wide range of outcomes. Because I think my personal take is that if McCaffrey is out, both guys will get run. Yep. That I don't think one guy gets the full workload of Christian McCaffrey. Shanahan has been talking about, yes, Mason's run well for us, but, you have to give credit to what Elijah Mitchell's done for us in the past. I'm paraphrasing, but he basically gave praise to both guys and didn't tip his hat. And it's freaking Kyle Shanahan who could just be like, you know what? Actually, it's Tyrion Davis-Price, and he gets 25 carries. And you're like, so my expectation is that if McCaffrey misses, it is Mason and Mitchell in some order, probably Mason for this week just because, again, Mitchell's off the injury and he's ramping back up. But it also wouldn't shock me if that gets reversed because he has a longer track record with Mitchell and maybe he trusts him more in pass pro in this offense as well. I think given how good this offense is, given the matchup with the Vikings, and given how much I think they'll run, especially, by the way, because Deebo Samuel may not be 100% in this one, both guys will be viable in By-Mageddon as well. So they could be awesome or they could also be completely useless if McCaffrey plays on Monday night. So I just want people to, they're my number one quote pick because of the upside there. But if I absolutely need a running back this week, just understand you're playing a little bit with fire because there's a chance, whichever one you get isn't the one they get or, seems active. All right, there we go.
Our next one here, Browns running back Kareem Hunt. He's got the Colts. He's available in 64% of leagues. Listen, since they signed Kareem Hunt, he is involved in this offense. He's the thing in this offense. 12 carries for 47 yards. He gets the touchdown. He also catches 3 passes for 24 yards. And Jerome Ford has been good, but the factor is Hunt's eating a lot into his workload as well. And the matchups are okay, the Colts, Seattle, Arizona, and Baltimore, but in a week where you're desperate for running back help, Hunt is probably one of your better options out there.
Yeah, I still think Jerome Ford is clearly the guy there. He outcarried Hunt 17-12, but I mean, the thing with Kareem Hunt, as always, he gives you a little bit in the passing game. He had 3 receptions, 424 yards against the Niners. And the other thing here is that Deshaun Watson, who seems like he's trending towards playing, we don't have confirmation on that, but even if he does play, I wouldn't expect that he's going to be throwing the ball 45 times. I think they're going to be running as much as possible. So I think Kareem Hunt is he's touchdown dependent, but is somewhat viable as a flex option if you're desperate.
Played only 37% of the snaps last week, but did get 15 touches. I do think, to your point, a lot of that was because both of the weather and PJ Walker under center. They just wanted to try to run the ball as much as possible, or keep the throws really short. But he does have at least 4 targets in 4 out of 5 games this year. Colts are a bottom 10 defense in terms of most fantasy points allowed to opposing running backs. So whether it's PJ Walker back under center or a limited Deshaun Watson this Sunday against the Colts, yes, you could do worse than Kareem Hunt and probably have. I'm looking at you, Amari DiMaccardo, managers from last week.
Okay. Our next one, with David Montgomery expected to miss some time, our favorite injury destination. Yes. David Montgomery will miss some time with the rib injury. Lions running back Craig Reynolds has the Ravens on deck this week. He's available in almost all leagues, 98%. Sounds like Jahmyr Gibbs is working his way back in this, so that could be a big factor for Craig Reynolds, who had the block of the week across all of football. 10 carries, 15 yards, 2 catches, 28 yards against the Bucs.
played on 84% of the snaps once David Montgomery left the game last week. He's averaging over 77 yards from scrimmage in his 4 career games where he's gotten double-digit touches. Given how the Lions want to run their offense, you'd expect that he will get double-digit touches. Now, you don't love the matchup against the Ravens, right? I mean, Baltimore so far this year is a run defense that is. Where is it on my sheet here? I'm sorry, I'm missing.
They're
it
a top
here.
5 run defense. The
Yeah,
Ravens.
exactly. It's a very good run defense. I wanted to give the exact number here. But the fact is that it's not a great matchup, but he should get decent amount of work. He'll probably get the goal line work as well. This is an offense that can be in scoring position as well. So, yeah, I mean, Craig Reynolds, especially given the fact that Montgomery, Gibbs is never going to be the guy. They don't want Gibbs touching the ball 20 times a game. So they want a between the tackles pounder. And so if Montgomery's going to miss, some time, whatever that is, 2 games, 3 games, whatever it is, my guess is, just looking at the schedule, so they play Baltimore this week, the Lions. Then they're home to Las Vegas, then they've got the bye.
Give them the bye.
I bet you that's exactly right. Especially they're 5-1, and they come back, they're at the Chargers. So you're probably without Dave Montgomery for the next 3 weeks, and there's going to be a Detroit Lions usable running back for the next 2, especially a week from now against Las Vegas, and maybe he gets into the end zone against the Ravens as well. So Craig Reynolds comes in there as our number 3 pickup, or our number 4 after the 2 Niners guys. 2 interesting tidbits about Craig Reynolds, by the way. He is good friends with our own Blake Friedman, Penn State Blake, and Craig Reynolds. This is a true story. They're actually friends from childhood. And the other interesting fact about Craig Reynolds is that his friend Penn State Blake got eliminated in our guillotine league last night. So it's just interesting. That's just a fun fact about Craig Reynolds is that his friend Penn State Blake got the chop last night. Poor Penn State Blake did not get to even drink for free. So yes.
Though, to be fair, Penn State Blake is a massive Phillies fan and messaged, after the Bryce Harper home run last night, messaged me, happy birthday, Bryce. So he's very, very excited about the Phillies beating the Diamondbacks.
Yes. We are having more time to watch baseball because you're out of our fantasy league.
Oh my God. The joke never gets old.
No, it never does.
All right, our last group of running backs here. Listen, the Rams are really going through it in their backfield right now. Kyren Williams with the ankle, Ronnie Rivers with the knee. They will be out for a little bit, and we got to hear from head coach Sean McVay on all the Rams running back injuries.
Those guys are going to, be out for a little bit. Exactly how long we're kind of working through, but it's tough. That's tough information for both those guys who done a really good job, and for our team, obviously. Prognosis looks like it's going to be challenging for those guys in the immediate future.
Thanks,
You're welcome.
Gary.
I know you're going to try to ask something, Gary. I'm not adding to it.
Prognosis negative, as they say in the Seinfeld episode.
Do you ever think about at one time the Commanders on staff had Sean McVay, Mike McDaniel, Matt LaFleur, and of course Kyle Shanahan? I think about that at least once a week.
I think about that more than I think about the Roman Empire.
Yeah, there you go.
And I think about the Roman Empire pretty much 5-6 times a day. So yeah, I think about that all the time. But by the way, they also had John Schneider, the Seahawks general manager, who's brilliant. Who built the Legion of Boom and everything. They had him in the front office as well.
They're a talent pipeline
for
everyone else.
Can you imagine? It's just dudes hanging out, watching Tropic Thunder in the Commanders' lunchroom.
McVay and McDaniel together is a dynamic that is just unbelievable.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well,
was that the Coach McVay show? I didn't pick that up.
That was just a presser, but from the coach. Once in a while, the Coach McVay show has the set with the custom brand.
It's the Sean McVay show, not the. I believe it's not the Coach McVay show. But yeah, Commanders are like the anti-Patriots. You know what I mean? Because when coaches leave New England, they don't do as well. Yeah. You get out of Washington, and all of a sudden you're.
Well, you got Ron Rivera though, so you're fine.
Yeah. Great.
Got him for another 3.
I will say this for the record, and there's tape of this. When Sean McVay was recruited to coach the Rams, he was the offensive coordinator under Jay Gruden, and I literally said this on my old podcast. I said, if I was they will never do this, but they should fire Jay Gruden just to keep Sean McVay. Yeah. Just because, and I actually like Jay Gruden. I think he got kind of a bad rap there, but I just knew from talking to everyone that all due respect to Gruden, and Gruden's fine. Gruden actually is a very good offensive mind, but McVay, everyone knew, McVay was
going to be that guy.
Was going to be that guy.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so I mean, like he was hired at, it was like 30, like 1 hour. I mean, like
Yeah.
32 or whatever. He was like the youngest coach in NFL history when he was hired, because it's just like when you meet him, like, and I've met him a few times, like when you meet him, like what you see, like in the press conferences, and like that's him.
Right.
Like he's that intense, he's that charismatic, he's that confident, and you're just like, I'll run through a brick wall for you, dude. Like, I'm ready. Like, let's do a spider 2Y banana. Like, what are we doing? Like, like I'm ready. Like he's that dude.
Yeah.
He is that dude.
The boy genius.
I'm sorry. He is that amigo.
There
Yeah, that,
you go.
That amigo.
Lovely.
Yeah, our hermano.
Well, he's
Sean
going to need an
McVay.
amigo out of this backfield to really step up,
yeah,
and they're running out of bodies.
the
Listen,
segue.
rookie Zach
Yes.
Evans is available in 97% of leagues.
There
They
are
also
those
have
amigos in this
they
backfield.
have Royce Freeman on the practice squad.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody has to carry the ball for
Yes.
this Rams team. I would think they give their rookie Zach Evans a look, but they've been hesitant to do that so far this year, and we do expect a Royce Freeman call-up.
Yeah, I think so. But I think if I was picking one of these guys, I think Zach Evans is the more talented guy. It's a good matchup at home against Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Steelers have not been a good run defense this year. But for our viewers that are unfamiliar with Zach Evans, the youngster, what kind of guy is this?
Such a polarizing prospect, a former 5-star, goes to TCU, is expected to be, Najee Harris or all the Cam Akers, all these great hyped running backs, and it didn't work out for him at TCU. He transfers to Ole Miss, and he's a good player, but he just never reached that ceiling. Good contact balance, can run hard, not very creative. The vision was kind of so-so, not the breakaway speed, but he can get you the tough yards. And Sean McVay asked Kyren Williams to carry the ball 20 times a game and grind out tough yards. Zach Evans can do that. So if they trust him and think he's ready, he's been a guy that can be a workhorse back for them. It's just, I don't think it's going to be anything overly explosive. If you're thinking you're going to get the same production that you've gotten out of Kyren Williams, that's not going to happen, but he's a capable player.
Can he do anything as a pass catcher?
That's the biggest thing. He's just not used as a pass catcher a lot in college, and I think they didn't really trust him a lot in pass pro, and I don't know if the Rams will be ready to trust him there, which would bring up a Royce Freeman call-up.
Right,
That's
exactly.
my thinking. So the ceiling here, limited, but I do think there's a floor because of the volume in this offense that does get in the red zone a lot.
Yeah, it really does. So that's, I think that's kind of interesting. Maybe we could see more, bubble screens to Puka Nacua and that kind of stuff. But anyway, again, this is Bimageddon. You know what? It's
Zach Evans week.
Right. This is it's closing time. You can't be picky at closing time. You know what I'm saying? You gotta
need 6 points somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, you want to talk about non-picky. Honestly, God bless desperation at closing time. Otherwise, I wouldn't be married. The fact of the matter is that you may be like that. We do this segment on Sundays called Beer Goggles, which is how drunk do you have to be to start these guys? I suspect all these guys, it's a little bit like that. How drunk do you have to be to feel okay to pick any of these guys up? Well, listen. I wanted to bring up Devin Singletary just because. Hang on. No, I want to bring up. Shut up here for a second. You guys.
That's too good.
25 Bud Lights for that one.
Silencio. I'm bringing up Devin. I brought up Devin Singletary. He is on a bye. He cannot help you this week, but I wanted to bring him up because we didn't get to him yesterday. He actually led the Texans' backfield with a 52% snap rate. He had 13 touches with the same number of Dameon Pierce. Their offensive line is getting healthy. When they get out of the bye, their schedule actually gets easier. The Texans are going to be a team this year. The Texans are I don't know that they're going to make the playoffs or go far, but they're not going to get blown out in a lot of games. They are good enough to play in most games. And so whoever the lead running back is the Texans, and we still think it's Dameon Pierce, but Singletary ran better last week. And so I'm just saying, if you're hey, I'm good, you have your running backs all set for this week and you're good and you're just looking to the future, especially if I had Dameon Pierce, I might want to grab and stash Devin Singletary. If I have to pick an Arizona running back, I suppose Keontae Ingram's, but him and Damian Williams both got run. It's just an ugly mess. Mari DiMaccardo actually also played a lot. He didn't get a lot of touches, but he played more snaps, especially on passing downs because they were trailing so much. And I just want to mention Ezekiel Elliott is getting double-digit touches this year. Again, I get it. It's sort of gross. But the fact of the matter is that the Patriots, okay, so Mac Jones was better, but it doesn't look great. I wonder if the Patriots, they're 1-5. New England's got to do something, guys. And so, I have no sources on this. I'm just trying to think outside the box here. But remember, when Tom Brady got suspended for those 4 games, and then they had to go with, and Garoppolo got hurt, and so they had to go to Jacoby Brissett, I think it was his rookie year. Yeah, his rookie year, and he really didn't know the offense. So they were just we're just going to run. we're gonna run Jacoby, we're gonna run our running backs, and we're just gonna do that. I wonder if they go to Malik Cunningham and just say it's going to be Ramondre, it's going to be Zeke, it's going to be Malik Cunningham. We got to try something different because Mac ain't getting the job done. I don't know, but
Gesicki Wildcat.
Yeah, something. Let's get weird.
Why not at this point? Nothing else has looked good.
All I'm saying is like, again, if you're truly desperate, Zeke is getting double-digit touches a game. And always has a chance to fall into the end zone.
To recap, Barry's top running back waiver wire targets going into Week 7. Elijah Mitchell and Jordan Mason top the list, followed by Kareem Hunt, Craig Reynolds, friend of Penn State Blake, Zach Evans, Keontae Ingram. And with that, we will move over to the quarterbacks.
Do you think Craig, here's a question, because Penn State Blake will tell you, oh, Craig Reynolds, we're boys. That's my guy. I grew up with him. Like, we're friends. I text him all the time.
Craig is aware they are
but,
friends.
No, but
That's
I'm just curious. Do you think if Craig is talking with his buddies, he's like, who my boy is? Penn State Blake over at Fantasy Football Happy Hour.
Mentioned on the show only 20 times per show.
No, I'm just asking. Like, do you think? Blake obviously brags that he's friends with Craig Reynolds. I'm just asking. Do you think Craig acknowledges to other people that he's friends with Blake? Do you think? I know Blake texts Craig Reynolds. I'm just asking. Do you think Craig texts Blake back?
Just with the amount of run Craig Reynolds has gotten out of Penn State Blake's mouth. Imagine if he was friends with Justin Herbert. Imagine we'd never hear the end of it.
It's unbelievable.
We need Craig Reynolds to be a weekend warrior this week really badly. 2 touchdowns for Craig Reynolds on tap. All right, let's go into the quarterbacks. We have to start with injuries because, guys, this is a gauntlet. Jim Irsay said, Anthony Richardson.
Breaking news.
Yeah, said he's probably done for the year with the shoulder injury. That's just wildly disappointing after such a promising start. Doug Peterson saying Trevor Lawrence with the knee is day-to-day. Matt Eberflus, which says Justin Fields is doubtful to play this week against the Raiders with the thumb. Josh McDaniels said Jimmy Garoppolo dodged a big bullet with his back injury, but he's still uncertain for Week 7 at Chicago. Wow, we could have Brian Hoyer against Tyson Bagent. That is a thriller. Sean McDermott said Josh Allen is dealing with a shoulder that has him day-to-day. And, guys, there's so many injuries, we couldn't even fit poor Ryan Tannehill on the graphic. He has a high ankle sprain as they go into the bye.
Or Baker Mayfield, who seemed to get banged up towards the end of the game right there. By the way, just to be clear, I want to just clean one thing up there. When McDaniel said Jimmy Garoppolo dodged a big bullet, he was speaking hypothetically. It wasn't a Matrix kind of thing where, he did one of those. I just want to be clear.
That's a good clarification.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
Very important.
Yeah.
No Spanish words for that.
No.
Okay.
He didn't like, ole.
There you go.
Exactly.
On it. All right, so the waiver wire targets, if you lost one of those quarterbacks and you're desperate, starts with no other, Jay, Sam Howell, Ring of Honor.
Can we get Logan Thomas on the quarterback?
Yeah, come on now.
62% availability, and he's got the Giants at MetLife Stadium this week.
Say bonjour to Sam Howell. Come on now.
Sam has a 2-point favorite. They might be 4-3, the Commanders. Feels like they're 0-12.
Last 3 weeks, Jay, he's averaging over 21 fantasy points per game. He's had at least 18 fantasy points in 4 of his past 5 games. He's averaging 17 rushing yards per game this season. Their upcoming schedule, Giants, Eagles, Patriots, Seattle. Like, how is Sam Howell, future Hall of Famer, Sam Howell, 62% available? It's ugly. He takes too many sacks, but he's been putting up fantasy points. Jay.
Yes, also putting up fantasy points quietly. Derek Carr, even in a loss, he got over 300 yards. Kenny Pickett back with a relatively favorable matchup against the Rams. Josh Dobbs came down to earth, but the rushing will always give you a certain floor. And then Daniel Jones, we'll see about his status, but looks like he will probably play in a favorable matchup against Emmanuel Forbes.
All right, hold on. Whoa, hold your horses there, because you skipped over Daniel Jones there.
I just said Daniel Jones. He's got Emmanuel Forbes.
You went right to Derek Carr. You went right to Derek Carr.
Okay, he made his way back to Daniel Jones.
You've almost right to Derek Carr. Anyway, Daniel Jones hopefully is back. By the way, he's averaged over 18 fantasy points per game in his last 3 against my Commanders. My Commanders are not good defensively. They give the 3rd most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks.
Let's take a look at the tight ends. This is led by Falcons tight end Jonnu Smith, available in 81% of leagues. It's been a nice couple of weeks for Jonnu Smith, who could be on pace for a career year receiving. Packers tight end Luke Musgrave as well here. Barry, you've been excited about him. He's healthy now. He's got the Broncos. He's available in 82% of leagues. Both these guys seem viable if you're desperate.
100%. So yes, Kyle Pitts finally seems to be freed, but the fact is that even with Kyle Pitts producing, Jonnu Smith still has 3 straight games with double-digit fantasy points since week 3. He's a top 8 tight end in targets in the NFL. Like Why throw it to guys like Drake London or Kyle Pitts when you can throw it
or
to
Bijan
Jonnu Smith or Bijan?
Bijan's
Right,
on
it's
the
Bijan
fence.
Robinson, I believe.
That's
Speaking
right.
of, right?
Yeah, why throw to your 3 top 10 picks when you could bring in Jonnu Smith off the scrap heap?
Yeah, exactly.
Love Arthur Smith.
At any rate, Jonnu Smith is out there, as is Luke Musgrave. You mentioned the Denver Broncos matchup. Broncos quietly allow the second most fantasy points per game to opposing tight ends. His last 2 full games, remember he had the concussion in week 4, but the last 2 full games that Luke Musgrave played, he's had over seven or more targets in both those games. And you feel like out of the bye, hopefully Jordan Love and the offense has tried to figure out a way to work him more in the into the system here. Michael Mayer is not somebody we really talked about yesterday, but he played 81% of the snaps for the Raiders, 5 for 75 on 6 targets as well. And this is a guy that a lot of people, Connor, thought should have been the number 1 tight end out of the draft this year.
I had him as a top 15 player. I mean, he was one of the best college tight ends we've seen in the last decade for Notre Dame for 2 years. Touchdown machine, possession machine, was constantly moving the chains with first downs. It makes me wonder how it took this long to get him involved in this offense. It's honestly just stupidity, and I'm glad he finally got involved and had a huge day, and that will continue.
Yep, hugely favorable matchup as well against Chicago. The Raiders might be 4-3 as well as the Commanders. It's unbelievable. Yeah. Kylen Granson as well, just with the amount that the Colts are throwing the ball, he may be an option against Cleveland, though you can probably do better there. And then Dawson Knox, who again just kind of fills the Dalton Schultz.
Well, Dalton Kincaid's is still in the concussion protocol as of this taping. Dawson Knox qualifies at tight end.
Yes.
And Josh Allen is quarterback.
Yeah.
There. I've said
probably.
Nice things about Dawson. Whatever. Dawson Knox, he's a touchdown or bust tight end, but when you get into this range, they all are. They all are. So,
3 defenses to stream this week. The Browns, of course. Why not? Jim Schwartz has those boys rolling right now.
The Browns are 72% available.
They're not generating turnovers, but the turnovers are coming.
No
they could have had 4.
Seattle against Arizona. They're available in 78% of leagues. And the Bucs defense against the Falcons, 71% available. If you need a defense, grab one of these 3 for the week.
Yeah, like them all.
And to make an addition, you got to drop somebody. Here's a couple droppable players owned in over half of leagues right now.
Yeah.
The Gus Bus, Anthony Richardson,
Adios,
of course.
amigos.
This is the Adios, waiver wired Adios edition. Jahan Dotson, tough there, Barry. Imari DiMercado, Logan Thomas.
What?
to Atwell. How do you sneak on there?
Entree view to Dumpsville.
And Elijah Moore in that Browns offense. With that, guys, we will take our first break. When we're back, it's a Monday Night Football recap. Should we be concerned about Justin Herbert?
There's so much we should be concerned about on this show. That's just on the list.
We are eating good in the neighborhood this Sunday when the Fantasy Football pregame show broadcasts live from Applebee's in Philadelphia. The restaurant at 1942 Roosevelt Boulevard opens at 10:30 a.m. and pregame kicks off at 11. Come on out early to start your tailgate party with us this Sunday and ask your sit-start questions ahead of the big Sunday Night Football matchup between the Dolphins and Eagles. And if you're not in Philly, you can watch the show live on Peacock and on the NBC Sports YouTube channel.
Yes. Philadelphia, come say shalom to us.
There we go.
Actually, I just got a text from Emmanuel Macron, the president of France. And
he has your number. Interesting.
After you butchered the pronunciation of bienvenue and said it entrez-vous. We're actually geo-blocked in France now, so goodbye to our French audience. But we still got America and the rest of the world.
Yeah. So, listen, just a quick question for you, Connor. What do you think is more realistic, that that President Macron texted Jay, or that Blake is actually high school friends with Craig Reynolds?
Definitely Blake being friends with
really?
Craig Reynolds.
Because I actually kind of bought that with Jay. I really think I think the President of France is watching the show, right? You know. He's like an international man of mystery.
That is true. He's been all around the world and somehow ended up at this desk.
Yeah,
Tough final destination.
Yeah, no, I call him Manny.
Yes,
right.
Yes, I'm sure he loves that. All right, our Monday Night Football recap. The Cowboys beat the Chargers 20-17 on Monday Night Football.
Isn't entree view something, though?
I don't think so.
No, it's not.
And this isn't the first time this has happened.
It's 100%
with
not.
the French language.
Yeah.
All right, fine. We got to go on.
All right. Not a great night for Justin Herbert. I mean, the box score, 22-37, 227, 2 touchdowns and a pick. He was pressured a lot. And, guys, Jay just wasn't accurate. He missed a lot of big plays on the field.
Keenan Allen could have had 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. Here's one of the misses. That's a bad one. There was another one as well. And look, I think
that a big chunk play. By the way, also Eckler. He could have had a touchdown pass to Eckler.
He was late to him.
Yes.
This one,
throw in the
right
flat
here.
right here. This one right here. Yeah.
That was a bad one.
If he hits him in time, that's a touchdown.
It felt like it's a weird that he was favoring his left hand. He was seemingly very aware of it when he was being brought to the ground. He's got the fractured fingers he's playing through, but he just sailed passes that normally he would make. So look, he'll be fine. And ultimately, from a fantasy perspective, it wasn't a terrible game. He gave you a little bit on the ground as well, but he'll be better.
He played the Cowboys, and he's the 5th best quarterback in fantasy in a game where he left a lot of points in the game. I'm not worried about Justin Herbert at all. And by the way, listen, I will say this. This was a positive game for Dak Prescott. Like, again, we thought there was kind of a referendum game on Dak Prescott. I've been a Dak critic for
America
quite some time.
votes yes.
I'm just honestly, like, give Dak credit. Like, he came out, like, he played very well. He started to run a little bit as well. He's home to the Rams next week, back in the low-end QB1, high-end QB2 mix.
Yep, no real concern about Tony Pollard or Austin Eckler. Pollard, the offensive line of the Cowboys just isn't clicking, but he still gives you so much in the receiving game.
Yeah.
Austin Eckler, I think you just throw it out. First game back against a really good defense.
I was disappointed that Quentin Johnston, out of the bye, couldn't get anything targets. I have no problem dumping him as well. Last thing I'll say on this particular game, Michael Gallup. Like, I had the over on 36.5. He got 10 targets. I was right, damn it, and he didn't do anything.
You're wrong.
At least it was a huge game for my guy, Ates. Thank you, Ates. I call him Ates. It was CeeDee Lamb, but I call him Ates.
No bien.
No bien.
Don't forget, on DraftKings Sportsbook this season, new customers can bet $5 and pocket $200 in bonus bets instantly. Plus, all customers can get a no-sweat same-game parlay every day. Download the app and use promo code Barry when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours. Let's jump into a little bit back to the futures. Future bets we are looking at. What do you got this week, Jay?
Taking the Browns to win the AFC North plus 265. This is a historically good defense through 6 weeks, and they've got the easiest schedule in the division, Matthew.
I'm going to go with Robert Salah, Coach of the Year. Like, out of this brutal schedule, he's 3-3 with wins against the Bills and the Eagles as well. 7 of his last 11 games out of the bye are against teams 500 or worse entering Week 7. He's plus 1,700 to win Coach of the Year. New York media market loves a guy like that.
And coming off of that, what's even crazy is the Jets' win total is set at 6.5. They have 3. It is offensive. They've beaten the Eagles and the Bills, okay, the Broncos, whatever. The schedule gets a little easier. 6.5.
They're 4 and 7 to win.
You're telling me that defense alone can't get them 4 more wins
out of the next 7? Yeah.
Out of
the rest 11. Of the season.
Yeah.
Next 11.
4 out of the next 11, exactly.
So I think that'll change. That just seems it should be 7.5.
I think I think it should be 8.
Yes, but I think when you bet it, you should use the promo code Barry.
Okay.
Well, listen, it's closing
free money.
time. It's closing time, which means you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. So, adios, amigos. And adios, Jay and Connor as well. I'm Matthew. Peace out. Bienvenido. Dios mío. Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotorWorld.com. And I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched. Or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest Roto-World fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.